Okay, this is the analysis of the comparison between the two crashes that were evidenced in my previous two videos, them being the 2021 Silverstone Grand Prix and the 2021 Monza Grand Prix, both of which Max Verstappen was at fault for. At Silverstone, Lewis Hamilton was the attacking car on the inside at the braking zone of the corner, had made it more than halfway alongside Max Verstappen, entitling him to be left track room around that corner, so long that he left Max track room on exit of that corner. With all that room to his left-hand side, Max tried to chop across the nose of Lewis, driving into the line, driving into the area of track that Lewis was entitled to be in, and putting himself out of that race by trying to force the issue and carry in too much speed into that corner. Max Verstappen's standard modus operandi, the way in which he chooses to conduct himself all of the time. At Monza, then Max was the car that was behind. Max was on the outside going into the first corner, which is actually the first part of a chicane. Being on the outside, you have to be at least level with the car you're trying to overtake at the braking zone for that corner to entitle you to be left track room on exit of that corner. Max wasn't. Max wasn't even halfway alongside Lewis's car there. Max had a requirement to back out of that corner. Max shouldn't have been there. No, Max, as Supermax is, he's uncompromising, he's argy-bargy, he's elbows out. Tried to stay around the outside, tried to force the issue and cause the collision. Shouldn't have been there. Should have backed out. Right, so what we get as comments to the Monza video is, oh, that teaches us about the sausage curbs. Yeah, it does a little bit, but actually what it teaches us is Max Verstappen's in the wrong there. Let's not deflect from Max Verstappen putting his car in a position it shouldn't have been in. Okay, irrespective of whether the sausage curbs were there and had an impact on Max's car shouldn't have been there. Had he not been there, there wouldn't have been the incident. So let's not deflect from that. Now, let's be real, because this is where some of you may have realised there is some ongoing beef. Oh, tell all the other kids in the playground that there's some beef going on between two YouTubers. Woohoo, crazy shit. Now, I was going to deal with this by composing a diss rap, but to be fair, diss raps are not my forte. I'm probably more suited to writing the diss Christmas Carol, which will be coming this year. But let's see where it all started. Let's have a look at the Let's Be Real. Now, I would tell you which channel this come from, but if I do, then I'll get accused of putting this guy's face on the video. But he puts his own face out there, but it'd be my fault that I'm using his face on there and I'm too scared to put my own, apparently. Yeah, anyway, let's be real.
You don't need an expensive solicitor
Let's get some advertising revenue out of this
to write your will. Protect your loved ones and assets with a professionally written...
Oh, is that a threat to kill me? I need a will. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, let's not worry about that. Let's be real about these two crashes. So we'll go through that analysis, but where the beef started is that in response to watching this video. Now, I had been subscribed to this channel since I discovered it because I appreciated this content creator for the fact that he was one of the few that would actually speak about Abu Dhabi 2021 in its true context and call out the corruption in a manner that it should have been being spoken about. I then, as I've said to you in my previous videos, I did seek out this content creator to try and give them material to use so that it could be broadcast to the audience that they had already built up for themselves. Okay, I respected the fact that they had built themselves a platform, a channel, which had got close to 12,000 subscribers, and admired the fact that they were willing to talk about something that was wrong, but felt that I could enhance the manner in which that they were talking about it by giving them extra information. Okay, that's to come. Don't worry about that yet. What we've seen in well, it's been a period of time that this behaviour, this manner of making videos has been a pattern. And then I saw this video, which then prompted me to make this statement. I'd actually atted him, where I'd included his channel handle in one of the descriptions of my videos, I think, because I wanted him to maybe view that video to see if that would provide him with information that he could then use to then talk about himself. It's his choice what he wants to talk about on his channel, but if he's then exposed to some sort of information, that might then give him inspiration to use that as a topic to talk about in his manner to his audience. Okay, so I had atted him. He then responded saying, "What's up, fixed?" And so I responded, I'll talk about it in a video. It's too much to go into in a content." It was something along those lines was the reason I'd atted him a week or so before. That, whether that community post is still there, I don't know. Anyway, on this particular video, I wrote the comment, "Don't try to analyze things if you don't know what you're talking about." And he didn't like that. He didn't like that. So as a result of that, he's then made numerous videos where he has made disparaging remarks about his feeling, well, about me and his feelings for me. So let's have a look at this video to say, to understand analysis and why it is I wrote that comment. Don't try to analyze things if you don't know what you're talking about, because when you do that, you are giving people disinformation, misinformation.
This incredible mold remover gel can
Another advert. Yeah, a bit of cha-ching. You'll be loving this.
Restore your bathroom and tiles to their original shine in just 15 minutes.
There you go.
What's good, family? Hope everyone's good. You know, I think it was on my last video, someone said they don't respect Max Verstappen because he knows the circumstances in which he won his first title and he still celebrated it. So I said, cool, I understand that. Some people would say the way Lewis Hamilton celebrated Silverstone in 2021 was tasteless because...
Trying to compare the two. So when you compete in a sport, you know the rules of the sport, and you also know that if the sport then is contrived to give you the chance of a happy ending. If you actually start jumping up and down, celebrating like this is the best thing ever that's happened, well, that's a mark of who you are as an individual and your integrity. There's a lot of people that just would feel no value in that kind of, well, it's not even a victory, is it? It's what took place where they just broke the rules of the sport to set it up for a particular ending is not something that a true, real sportsman would actually run around celebrating. They'd just go, well, what was that? And Lewis Hamilton celebrating, well, what took place at Silverstone? It was a Grand Prix in front of his home crowd. No rules were broken. They didn't set it up for Lewis to win that. No, Lewis was in a motor race whereby he had to contend with a crash on lap one where another driver crashed into him, okay, that could have easily taken Lewis out. That dropped Lewis a place. It could have easily damaged Lewis's car, okay. Lewis was also given a 10-second penalty as a result of that. The race was restarted. He had to make his way back from a 10-second penalty, had to overcome Charles Leclerc to win that race in front of his own crowd. And you want to compare the two celebrating, those two events? That's ridiculous.
He crashed out his main rival and he still...
He crashed out his main rival. That shows you fluffing Max Verstappen fans, because he didn't crash out his main rival. Max Verstappen crashed into Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen, with his driving style, the fact that he will not yield, he would rather crash rather than allow anybody by him, which we've seen time and time again, was his downfall. He needs to take responsibility for that. Don't believe me? Go and watch the evidence in those two videos, the Monza video, the Silverstone video. Go and see earlier in that lap? Who didn't hit the apex? Why wasn't there a collision? Oh, it's because the car on the outside left room. The car on the outside drove his car in a position relative to the position of the car on the inside. Max Verstappen doesn't care whether you're on the inside or on the outside. He doesn't care that you're there. He's going to drive into that space regardless of you being there or not. That is a problem. That is something that needs to be ruled out of this sport. But the fluffing media validate that. And the Orange Army strap-on fanboys love that. And now you are appealing to that section of the fan base. You've done a U-turn. Let's be real about that.
Jumped up and down and celebrated it, even though, and I swear on my life I'm not lying yet, but...
Oh, that means you're not lying because you're swearing on your life, does it?
This is how biased I was. Even I felt a bit uncomfortable watching what he was doing, knowing that he put Max into the barrier. I'm being real. I was kind of looking at it like, should he be doing all that? But I let it go.
That's a lovely opinion, okay? A lovely opinion influenced by what? Knowledge? Do you really know what you're talking about? Do you know how to analyse motor racing crashes to determine who is at fault and who isn't? Where have you got your information from? What are your sources? Isn't it strange that the source, Sky Sports F1, doesn't know how to analyse these crashes? They get Karun Chandok or Anthony Davidson on the Sky pad. They'll tell you that Max is the expert of the guidelines. And nowhere does it say, says Karun, that the car on the inside has to remain on the track when attempting an overtaking manoeuvre. Really? Really, Karun? And you believe that, do you? You believe that? Isn't it strange that all these former Formula One drivers don't know the rules? They've all turned into amnesia chick when they have to explain away Max Verstappen's indiscretions. These rules, they're so complicated, nobody understands them, but Max Verstappen here is the expert of them. Martin Brundle and David Croft will be saying, oh, Max did nothing wrong there. Did Lewis give Max enough room? Could Lewis have left Max enough room? Just like Hungary 2024, could Lewis have done more to avoid the collision? And when Lewis did avoid the collision, Lewis drove off the track there on purpose. He didn't have to do that, did he? Oh, let's be real, shall we?
Why? Bias. Allegiance at the time. Things were polarized at the time. Now let's not forget things Christian Horner said, the abuse, the racism.
Yeah, not just Christian Horner. That was also Jonathan Wheatley of the Red Bull team, telling everybody knows that it's nobody puts a wheel up the inside at Cops. Really, we've seen plenty of overtakes there. Michael, we're very cross. Oh yes, so what you do, you tell lies that are then broadcast by the media time and time again, okay, inciting the hatred, inciting people to be against Lewis Hamilton, validating the notion that Hamilton was to blame, and then imposing a penalty on the wrong guy. That's an injustice.
There's no way I could have really said, actually, guys, it was kind of bad what Lewis Hamilton done. I had to back Lewis in that moment. Do you know what I mean? There was a lot going on. But realistically, yeah, he did kind of go over the top with the celebration.
Lewis went over the top with the celebration. He's won his home Grand Prix, having had to deal with that level of adversity.
So, yeah, I pointed that out. If you think it was a problem for Max in Abu Dhabi 2021, it should have been a problem for Lewis at Silverstone. He crashed.
Again, the fact that you're comparing Abu Dhabi, which was a season-ending championship where they broke the rules of the sport to set it up for one driver that had been allowed to get away with this sort of thing all season. Spain 2021, they go into that corner, Max is behind at the braking zone, not entitled to be left track room. Dive bombs into the corner, Lewis had to deviate his line going through that corner. Nothing. France 2021, Max goes off the track at the first corner, There is an instruction from race control as to how he has to rejoin the track through the array of cones. He doesn't do that. There is no penalty, no points on your licence. Nothing happens to Max Verstappen. We then get Silverstone. It's Lewis that gets penalised when Max is at fault. We get Monza. Well, actually, we got Imola, the chicane. Max forces him off the track. No action. The restart at Imola after the Bottas and Russell crash. What happens there? Oh, it's a dried out track now after a wait start. How do we restart? Oh, rolling start with Max in the lead. Oh, but it was Lewis that got the advantage there. Lewis got the advantage because he got to change his nose cone under the red flags conditions and got to unlap himself. Oh, that's just standard procedure. That's not rules being broken. Standard procedures are standing start as well, where, it's the jeopardy of a standing start. The chance of being jumped off the start by other cars around you. The chance of them being side by side with you as you go into that chicane. Oh, but not when you control the restart, giving yourself several car lengths head start on that restart. Max got that benefit, but the media don't tell you that, do they? Monza, before he ended up on Lewis Hamilton's head, the chicane incident where he forced Hamilton off the track there. Then he ended up on his head. Then we go into Brazil. That was obscene. Then we go into Saudi. That was obscene. Black flag. Not black flag. Brake test. First corner incident where he, again, runs off the track. Had Hamilton not dived off the track himself, there would have been a smash. He re-entered the track, forcing Hamilton to deviate his line, making Hamilton lose a place to Ocon. No penalty. Got to negotiate the grid for one of the restarts. So let's be real about what was really going on in 2021. And then they had to manipulate the ending to gift him the championship. Let's be real.
His main rival, and there was no consideration for them, the condition they may be in, them going to the hospital. He still celebrated it.
His main rival going to the hospital, he still celebrated. We saw Max walk away from that car. We saw him walk into the ambulance, up the ramp of the ambulance, waving to the crowd to say that he was okay. We heard Lewis Hamilton ask his race engineer if Max was okay. And he got the affirmation that he was okay. The race was red flagged. Lewis Hamilton would have double checked, made sure that everything was okay. So he'd have known then that when he'd have carried on racing, that his main rival was okay and he was just going to a hospital for precautionary checks, which is mandatory, which is what they would do in those circumstances. They cover themselves. So don't try and project that is behaviour that was not acceptable from Hamilton. Utter bollocks.
Just like Max, he got that championship that day in disgusting circumstances. He still celebrated it, you know? But let's be real with these two incidents here on the screen, because some people say the Silverstone crash is Max Verstappen's fault because he did not leave space. He had a lot more space to play with.
Absolutely right, Martin.
He chose to turn in sharply, make...
Yeah. Because this image, you see, this is after the impact. This half an image you can see on the screen, we're looking at the curbing. We're seeing these red markers. There's 3, 1, 2, 3. And people would describe that as being the apex that Lewis is supposed to hit. The collision took place before this curbing even started. There's where your problem is. People don't pick up on that, do they?
Contact with Lewis Hamilton's front wheel and crash himself out. Now, I'm not going to get into whether or not that is the case.
If you're not going to get into it, don't do this sort of video. Don't give us your opinion when you can't base it on something. Okay? Because all you're doing, you're validating the haters. You're validating those people that come with their falsehoods to validate their favourite. Those people that are validating Lewis Hamilton can do so with evidence, which is what I'm doing. I'll present you exactly what happened and I'll break it down in accordance with the rules and the regulations. And when those presented experts can't do that, because, is it this, is it that? We don't know these mystery overtaking guidelines that they've never revealed to the public because they're a secret. Because we have to keep changing them. Each time we have to keep validating Max. So they're variable. They can be this one week if Max does this. They can be that the next week if Max does that. So they're variable guidelines which Max is the expert of, everybody. No, I can explain it in a way which will hold for every corner at every circuit of every Grand Prix. Oh, that's a universal set of overtaking rules of engagement. And that's what they've been for decades. And they've been made that way because people have looked into, oh, this is the requirement. It's all assessed at the braking zone. The point in time when you're decelerating your car to the appropriate speed to take the appropriate line around the corner, bearing in mind whether or not you have to leave the other car room, whether the other car is entitled to room, because that's going to impact the line you're allowed to take. Hence, you have to take the appropriate speed. Hence, it's the braking zone. You see, that explanation makes sense, doesn't it, if you've got a fucking brain? So fucking use it.
All I will say is, cool, fine. You could have left more space, right? Look at your image on the right. Besides what happened after,
Look at the image on the right. This is on exit of corner. So the image on the right, you're trying to compare that with Silverstone. This is corner exit. A chicane is a complex of corners, okay? Your exit of a corner is what you're entitled to based on the entry of that corner. We're not talking about exit of Cox. We never got that far, did we? This is exit of a corner at Monza that Max never had entitlement to on entry of that corner. So the fact that we're going into the second part of the chicane here is irrelevant. The fact is, Lewis had the entitlement to pick the line that he wanted at Monza because Max was not in the right position on entry to that corner complex. Hence, Lewis could set his car up perfectly to take the second part of the chicane without having to consider Max's position whatsoever. So don't compare the two. They're not in no way comparable.
they made contact. I know a lot of people are upset with that still, but let's just talk about the space situation. This is Silverstone.
This was Silverstone. Okay, where's the braking zone? Where are these boards along here, back down the straight, where it's 150, 150? Where was Lewis's car relative to Max's as they were going along there? Oh, he almost got level. I've said before, he was perhaps 30 centimetres. The tip of Lewis's nose of his car was perhaps 30 centimetres back from the tip of Max Verstappen's. He was almost level with him, but not quite. He was definitely more than halfway alongside, attempting an overtake up the inside. That entitled him to racing room around this corner. This, as you've done in your still there, that is the point of impact. That's before, and actually you could drag it back a few frames, and these cars do go quite far back up the road, the speed they're travelling, just when you go frame by frame backwards for this. Because this smoke that, it is smoke that's coming off the wheel contact, that is obviously due to the wheel contact. And that does take place a frame or two back here, which is before this actually starts. But what are you describing?
Literally the point of contact, as you can see.
Yeah, which is before the apex, which is before the corner. The requirement is for Lewis to leave him room on exit the corner. Lewis is entitled to track room around here. And track room is not just his wheel, his left-hand wheel of this car on the white line. And it's not just the exact width of his car of tarmac here. You have to leave them racing room. There has to be a margin for error for two cars to go round there side by side. Look at the angle that Max was trying to chop him off. Max was trying to force his way across over to this white line as close as he could to run Lewis out of room. He was trying to force Lewis Hamilton to have to back out of that corner that Lewis was entitled to be there on.
Max Verstappen more or less has a car length ahead. Therefore,
why is that? It's because he's carrying so much extra speed. He's not yielded. He's not driven his car in a manner where, okay, driving around a racetrack here, I've got a competitor going against me. This competitor has put his car in a position which entitles him to be left room going around this corner. So I've got to take this corner in a manner where two cars can make it around this corner side by side effectively. Does Max acknowledge that? Does Max attempt to drive that corner in that manner? No, he doesn't. He tries to bully the other car. He tries to put his foot on, well, not brake at the appropriate time, carry extra speed to cut across here, to cut the other car out of racing room. That's what Max does. That's too combative. That's not acceptable.
Or, I suppose, can dictate the corner, right?
No, doesn't mean he can dictate the corner just because he's ahead at that point.
Ahead, therefore, I suppose, can dictate the corner, right?
No, absolutely wrong. So don't project this to these strap-on fanboys that actually came to your channel to troll you, to discredit you, to undermine you, and have done for a long period of time. Oh, but now you're making content and they're now liking that content and you're liking their comments in return. That's the audience that you're now seeking. That's what you're now getting. Okay? And if that's what you want to be left with, fine. You've made your choice. You've made your choice.
Yes, he had more space to play with, but he probably didn't expect Lewis to still be in the move.
Yes, he had more space to play with. Yeah, all this over here. All this over here. But he didn't expect Lewis to... It's nothing about expectation. Oh, I drove here because I didn't expect the other car to be there. No, your job is to observe. Your job is to constantly monitor where the other cars are, okay, and adjust the position of your car relative to theirs on that racetrack. They're not allowed to run you out of racing room. You're not allowed to run them out of racing room, okay? But you can't just go, well, I just drove there because I didn't expect them to be there. No, that's not a valid argument, is it? But that's what you've heard the validators say. That's what you've heard the likes of Brundle and Crofty say. Invalidation.
Which is why they made contact. But yeah, I mean, looking at this picture, you could either say it's Max Verstappen's fault for not using all the space that he has available to him.
It's Max Verstappen's fault. He could have used more space, but what he shouldn't have done is chop into the line that Lewis Hamilton had this line around here, that was his. Max Verstappen could have easily maintained a line, keeping 2.5 metres away from this white line, going around that corner, and there wouldn't have been a collision. Quite simple. But that didn't happen. Max tried to chop across, forcing Lewis Hamilton to back out. Lewis Hamilton was entitled to be there.
Even though he has a car length ahead, so if you want to use that angle, you can. Or you can say it's Lewis Hamilton's fault.
And it's nothing to do with having a car length ahead, because you back it back up here, they were almost level. And they should have still been relatively level going around this corner. The only reason they weren't, this is lap 1, they're on a full fuel load. They're on tyres that aren't even fully warmed up. Lewis has slowed his car down, Max has kept it in there. Max has then tried to cut across this line here to tighten the line through the corner so he could actually make the corner at that speed. Because had he tried to keep that speed, keeping a wide turn, he wouldn't have made it. He was going too fast, he didn't slow his car appropriately.
For staying in the move, it's a high risk corner. He should have backed out. Do you know what I mean? It's his fault. But cool, subjective. Let's move on to Monza. As you can see, similar situation. This time Lewis Hamilton is not.
How is that similar? How is that similar? This is corner exit. This is corner exit of a corner that Max should have yielded before going into that corner. Max was not entitled to be left room on exit. You're only entitled to be left room on exit if you're making an overtaking move around the outside of a corner when you've got yourself into the position on entry to the corner. The way you take a corner, ideally, the racing line, is by staying wide on the entry. You sweep across the track to clip the midpoint of the corner, the apex, which then sweeps you wide on exit of that corner. That flattens out the corner as much as possible, enabling you to take as much speed through that corner as possible. That would be the racing line of a corner. That's the ideal way. If you are racing wheel to wheel, car to car, then you have to be in certain positions. If you're trying to overtake up the inside, you have to be at least halfway alongside. The reason it's that is because you've got a shorter distance on the inside. If you're trying to overtake around the outside, you've got to be at least level with the car that you're trying to overtake. If you're not there, you back out. Max didn't back out. We're coming on exit of this first part of the chicane. Lewis Hamilton is entitled to be wide on exit. Max isn't entitled for track room there. That's the way it is. When you have a chicane, it's a corner complex, and you determine the eligibility of entitlement to track room on entry of the chicane, because the two corners are too close together to then go, oh, well, he wasn't there in the right position for this part, but having gone round that corner and got to himself to a position at the entry of the second part, too short. That exit of the first corner takes you to the entry of the second corner. So if you're not eligible for room on exit of that first corner, well, that set you up for the entry. Your position for entry of second corner is already determined by what is eligible for the first part of the chicane, for the first corner of the chicane. It's quite simple.
Leaving no space for Max Verstappen. That is why they made contact. Same thing.
No, they made contact because Max put his car in a position that it shouldn't have been. Check out the videos.
At Silverstone, someone chose not to leave a lot of space and they made contact.
Yes, Max chose not to leave a lot of space and they made contact. Lewis Hamilton was eligible to be left space going into that corner.
How is it any different?
Well, it's different because Max Verstappen is not eligible because he wasn't in the position. He was the overtaking car, and he'd not made it alongside, which he had to be as the overtaking car on the outside. Quite simple.
It's the same thing, but
no, it's not the same thing. And if you don't understand that, don't make videos about it.
Because of the time, at the time, we were biased. We were...
Nothing to do with bias. I can go through every racing incident involving any driver whatsoever, apply those same criteria, and you will get the same things determined. It's nothing to do with bias.
Going through it, it was like a war, effectively. Our judgment was clouded.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. Some of us can look at things objectively when you just apply criteria to a set of circumstance. And that's what you need to do. And if you can't do that, don't make this sort of video.
But they're literally the same. They did not...
Evidently you can't do it because you're calling them the same. And they're not the same. They're entirely different.
leave enough space for each other. And it all came from the incidents that they had in 2021. Namely with Lewis Hamilton, I'll admit, having to back out all the time. After a while we said, you know what?
Yeah, Lewis having to back out all the time. Why is that? Well, he was avoiding collisions. Had he not have backed out, the other driver would have driven his car into him. That's not acceptable motorsport. There are rules of engagement. If you drive like that, you should get penalties. That same driver didn't get penalties. The sport changed itself to accommodate the driving style of one driver. That's not okay. You wouldn't accept it in football. If your favourite football team, is it Arsenal who's your favourite football team? Let's say it's Spurs, right? Remember Vinnie Jones, the way he used to tackle? Take players at their kneecap, take players mid-thigh. Imagine Spurs pack their midfield with 3 Vinnie Joneses, and every time their midfielders, 3-minute Vinnie Joneses, took somebody out, broke their legs, and the commentators go, "Ooh, did Vinnie make a foul there? Did the Tottenham midfielder there win the ball fairly, or is that something that the tackling guidelines allow?" And you're now witnessing the greatest ever team, Tottenham Hotspur. The rules are bent to allow them to break everybody's legs, just to boost them to present and lie to people that they're the best thing you've ever seen. Would you be happy with that? Who would cause that problem? Would that be Tottenham that would cause that problem, or would that be the lying media that would explain it and validate it to people like that? Well, yeah, it'd be a combination, wouldn't it? It'd be the fact that the Tottenham had midfielders that were willing to play the game like that. It would be a problem of the referees that wouldn't send those players off for doing that and allow them to do that and not penalise them for doing that. It would be a problem of the media for the media all pretending that they don't know the rules of the sport and asking us the question, is that an acceptable way of tackling or not? Is that good for the game? Do we all think, oh, is this the best tackling team you've ever seen in the history of the Premier League? What, because they've won a few games? Yeah? Is that why Spurs would be the best? Would all the other teams competing in the Premier League, would they all just go, oh yeah, Spurs are one of the all-time greats? That's Spurs. They're little scamps, aren't they? You know that they're just a bit argy-bargy, elbows out. Would you tolerate that? I don't think you would you? I don't think you would. I don't think anybody would. But in Formula One, all the media seems to want to validate the same guy. Why is that? Why have you chosen to do that?
I'm not backing out anymore. That was Silverstone.
Was it that he wasn't backing out anymore? Well, yeah. Well, so that doesn't mean he caused a collision. Okay? It doesn't mean that he caused a collision. He put his car there and Max had still plenty of track room. Go and watch that Silverstone video. Look earlier in the lap. See where Lewis kept his car wide. There wasn't a collision there, was there? There wasn't a collision going round a corner earlier in that lap. Max didn't hit the apex. There wasn't a collision. Why wasn't there a collision? Because the other car maintained room. So whose fault is it? Whose fault is it?
Here, he decided, you know what? I'm not leaving any space anymore. Crash.
He decided he wasn't leaving any space anymore. No, he was entitled to be there. Max was required to back out and didn't. Once again, Max's fault.
You know, here's an even better angle actually. So you can see Max Verstappen has been pushed all the way onto the curb.
He's been pushed, has he? He's been pushed.
Now again, this is how they raced each other that year. It all stemmed from Max, I'm not going to lie. That's his driving style, you know. Lewis was the one always backing out, Imola, namely, where he went bouncing over the curbs. And Lewis said, you know what?
Imola mainly, so you got, like I say, he'd already had to back out in Spain, going round turn 1. Imola, he got pushed out of the race. Earlier in this race, he got pushed off at a chicane. Then this happened. Silverstone was prior to this race. We then saw Brazil, we saw Saudi. First lap of Abu Dhabi, had Lewis not have left the track there would have been a collision. Max Verstappen would have been willing to take him out because they were level on points, but Max had won an extra Grand Prix there, hadn't they? So they know if the scores were level and both cars didn't finish, Max would win the World Championship at Abu Dhabi because Max had won the extra Grand Prix, that being the Belgian parade, which my videos will show you wasn't a Grand Prix. The FIA's own rules dictate that the Grand Prix is deemed to have started once that safety car has left the track and the lead car crosses that start-finish line for the first time after the lead car after the safety car has left the track. That Grand Prix never started, but they awarded Max the win of it, didn't they? They gave Max 12.5 points to Lewis's 7.5 points. Oh, that's a difference of 5. Oh, but they're level on points, so neither driver should have got anything for that non-event. You take away them points, you take away that race victory, it's 8 wins each going into Abu Dhabi, but Lewis Hamilton's got a 5-point lead. Would Max be then trying to take him out then on lap 1? Oh, but no, he's got to give that place back. He's got to give that place back, hasn't he? Narrative.
I'm going to start racing him the same way, you know? And that's where it started happening. That's where they started crashing. Now, again, without getting too much into it, it all stems from not leaving each other enough space. In Silverstone, if you're saying it was Max's fault, that's fine. That means at Monza, it was Lewis Hamilton's fault.
No, it doesn't. At Silverstone, Lewis was the car on the inside, Max is the car on the outside. Okay, what is the eligibility for track room? Well, the car on the inside had made it more than halfway alongside eligible. At Monza, the car on the outside trying to do the overtake is Max, has to be alongside, is not eligible, has to back out. Clear difference. Don't compare the two.
If it's the other way around, if it's that you lacked awareness and should have let the move go, then yeah, Silverstone was Lewis Hamilton's fault. And if that's the case,
You think that's lacking awareness, do you? Absolutely ridiculous.
Monza is Max Verstappen's fault.
Absolutely right. It is his fault. It's not nothing to do with lacking awareness. It's the approach he takes. It's this bullying approach of, I'm going to force my car here, and if you don't yield, we crash. That's the approach of a bully. That's not somebody that's applying themselves. Sorry, not, I'm using the wrong word. Complying with the rules of the sport. Now, you play any sport against somebody that just ignores the rules. Okay, let's put it this way. Anthony Joshua, right? You know who Anthony Joshua is. Let's play Anthony Joshua in a rugby team. Let's get Anthony Joshua playing for the Lions in the next Lions tour. And when he goes on the rugby pitch, Anthony Joshua, rather than obey the rules of rugby, all Anthony Joshua will do is just knock out every opponent. He'll just walk onto the pitch, and anybody that gets in Anthony Joshua's way, he just knocks them out. Okay, and the reason that is because he's uncompromising, he's a bit argy-bargy, and he's a bit elbows out. But we won't penalise Anthony Joshua for doing that. We won't apply the rules of the sport to Anthony Joshua. We'll just call Anthony Joshua the best rugby player you've ever seen, right? No, let's not do that, because he's not playing rugby. Because unless you're competing in accordance with the rules and regulations of the sport, you're not playing that fucking sport, are you? Right. So understand that. Max isn't playing this sport appropriately. Understand that. Let's be real.
So that's just me being real, man. But yeah, I'm going to start doing a lot more on the channel. A return to music. Like my final message.
How about return to being authentic? How about that?
Big push with music.
That'll do. So that is where this beef originated, okay? And then he started a load of bullshit. So that's where that comment came from. Like I say, we'll go back to here. He's then put out this one, Fixated. We'll go through that. But he's started gobbing off in this one and that. And clearly doesn't like it. You know, he's going, oh, how come you're using pictures of me? Hang on, fella, you're the person that's making videos of you, showing us all your best self, aren't you? You know what I mean? So, and yet accusing me of being the person exposing you makes no sense. But we'll go through this one. It's ridiculous. Anyway. Thank you all for your time. I hope that this video, whilst it's been addressing some needless bullshit that's going on YouTube at the moment, hopefully it's been informative of those that are seeing the way that incidents are described and the way that they're described by mainstream media to validate something that's not acceptable. And then what happens is social media, people that have become content creators, just end up saying the same things without having the ability or understanding to actually talk about it in the correct manner. And that in itself is damaging, because that just reinforces people's opinions about these things. It's not about opinion, okay? It's not about what you think. If what you think is wrong, then it's an invalid opinion, okay? So people thinking they're entitled to an opinion, well, you can, but it doesn't mean your opinion's right. And to assess whether your explanation of it, the way you perceive it is right, okay, you have to compare that with the parameters. But when you are misinformed about those parameters because the media don't inform you correctly, they tell you with Brundle and Crofty, oh, Max did nothing wrong there. Did Lewis leave Max enough room? And then they roll out Karun Chandhok and Anthony Davidson with the Sky Pad to lie about the driving, the guidelines, and tell you that the car on the inside doesn't even have to stay on the track when trying to perform an overtake. Nowhere does it say that the car on the inside has to remain on the track. Go and look at that. Karun Chandhok from COTA 2024, when he's describing Max driving Lando off the track there. Oh, it's always the same guy doing the driving off the track, isn't it? Every single incident, we have somebody driving somebody off the track. Oh, who's the car that's doing the driving off the track? Always the same guy, isn't it? Always the same guy. Spot the patterns. Anyway, I didn't want to conflict with YouTubers who I originally thought were one of the good guys, but sadly people have choosing to want to have issues. So those, whatever their issues are, I'll expose you for what you are. That's you want to take this fight. This is what it's going to be. I'll show everybody. You've created this video fixated, and you think that validates you. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for your time.